Somebody who's had a video that has gone viral. Tell me about it.
I think it literally just happened like last night. There was like a play that my school now. Like my high school.
Oh wow! Like at a game or something?
No, it was just like in the hallway.
Wow! And how bad was it?
Some kid just started pushing me out, but I guess it got popular enough.
Wow. Well, this is going to be the opposite end of that. Not something quite not so serious, but something a little bit more kind of humor related. My wife actually has a viral video, covering that video. So make sure you get people to click on it. Help me have a nice Christmas this year. Guys, we're going to be putting that into Dr. Miko's 11 a.m. class. Here's the way it works. She essentially put it on her Facebook page and just loved that people were enjoying the video. All of a sudden, it started showing up as clickbait on other stations. For example, if you go to a channel, I shouldn't say a channel, if you go to a page on YouTube or any social media, you ever see sometimes they'll try to lure you in to click on this video to see these ads and these sorts of things. She saw other people were using her video to do that. She was contacted by an agency out of California called Jukin Media, and she signed an agreement, and they essentially now will track anybody who's using that video without consent, and they'll make them stop because they're the exclusive distributor for that video. So anytime she gets a click on it, she gets a percentage of the profit that gets made from those sales. So you too can have a viral video. My wife did not expect that we were going to have a nice little extra source of income from a couple of Airedales hitting a horn in a car. But you never know. So anyway, guys, where we're at. Today we're going to be continuing chapter 11. I'm going to be going at a pretty good clip today because I want to make up some time. I have not started grading your stock game submissions, but check this out. Absolutely every group was in on time. We had no late submissions. I want a round of applause for everybody on that, guys. Hey, since I've been teaching this class in 2014, I have never had one class where everybody got their group submission in on time. So thank you for that. I'm going to start grading those hopefully today. I want to be done with all those grades by the end of the weekend. Guys, this Friday we're going to have our second test in here. Please be on time. There's going to be a substantial number of bonus questions, and I will be awarding whatever bonus points you have available after that exam. But that test is this Friday. Who here is traveling for competition on Friday? When do you guys leave, by the way? You leave today. Okay. Well, guys, here's the thing. When is everybody back? I know we've made arrangements over there. Who here has not made arrangements with me for an alternative time for the test? Okay. So why don't we do this? When are you taking the test? I forget. Thursday. So you're coming up on Thursday as well. You're gonna be seeing me Thursday as well. You're gonna be on the road. When do you get back? Monday. So will you be in class on Monday? All right. What's a good time Monday? Email my time because I can stick around. I'm going to be here Monday regardless. Anybody else needs to make a time with me for that? We're all good. Guys, email me your availability. We'll get it done, okay? You can't control when you're traveling for competition. We will get that done. Guys, on Monday, we're going to be continuing to cover Chapter 11. We'll probably finish this chapter on Monday. Now, I assigned a couple online chapters to you. Those are due on November 25th. All you do is watch the YouTube videos, read the slides. Definitely watch the videos, too. Read the slides. Take the easy quiz on this. Bump up your test grade. Here's the deal on that as well, guys. That is your last actual assignment for this class because everything else we're doing is leading to the final. Whatever we cover between now and the end of the first week in December is what will be on the final. If we get through two chapters, then it's a 2-chapter final. If we get through 3 chapters, it's a 3-chapter final. It's not a big test. I would venture to say of all the exams you'll take in this class, the final is probably the easiest one. It's just the way it is. That's the way the class works out. That's my little holiday present for you. And guys, our final exam is the first day of finals at 8 a.m. It will not take you the whole 2 hours to complete the final. So 8 a.m., Monday, 12/9, in this room. But they always mix up the schedule for finals, so we'll be on the first day of finals at 8. Any questions about the logistics between here and the end of the semester? Yes?
What chapters are on the test Friday?
Everything that was sent out in the review. So we have chapters 19, I think it's 4, 5, and 6. Yep. Good question. Other questions? All right, guys, we're going to jump in today because we left off talking about some legislation. We're going to move quickly, and it's not to say this stuff isn't important, but it's somewhat linear. Guys, in the Civil Rights Act of 1964, we established that people should not be discriminated against based on the color of their skin, based on their gender, based on the place where they come from or the God that they worship. There's one thing that's noticeably absent from the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and that is gender discrimination based on people who are transsexual, based on people who are homosexual. For example, somebody who is born in the state of Pennsylvania as a male and has gender reassignment surgery is still considered a male based on your birth certificate. That's federal law. Unless a state law has an exception on it, what you are on your birth certificate is what you are considered. So, for example, a white male who has gender reassignment surgery to become a female is still, by federal statute, considered to be a male. Some states have other laws regarding that, but if a state does not have a more protective law, then federal law rules. 1991, the Civil Rights Act of 1991 basically said if you discriminate against somebody based on their gender, based on the color of their skin, those folks are entitled to financial damages. So if you choose not to hire somebody because you're a racist, for example, and you choose not to hire somebody based on the color of your skin, you're going to pay for it at a federal level, and deservingly so. We also have an office. If this were an HR class, we'd go more into the Office of Federal Contract Compliance. What it basically means, if you're a federal contractor and you're doing business with the U.S. government, you better also make sure you're not discriminating as well. Now, here's a big one, guys. The Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. Guys, here's what this means. Let's give you an example about a job. Somebody who does not have use of their legs, or maybe even their arms. Are there jobs those people can still do? Heck yes, and with reasonable accommodations. For example, you may notice the desks on the front of this room. This desk is way taller than the other desks in this room. Do you know why that is? So we can accommodate a wheelchair. Because we want to make sure we're being accessible, that we're accommodating people who have special needs, for example. So the Americans with Disabilities Act basically said you cannot choose not to hire somebody just because they have a disability. Now, you can choose to make somebody do an employment exam to prove they can do the job. For example, we had made the reference, for example, in the last class of the individual who came in a powered wheelchair for a job in a warehouse lifting heavy items. You can ask that person to prove they can do the job, but you had better ask every applicant to prove they can do the job. Does that make sense, guys? You cannot ask somebody if they have a disability. You can acknowledge their disability after they've acknowledged their disability. And we have an entire group of people who are coming back into our society right now who may have no visible signs of a disability, but who may have a disability. Who am I talking about? People who are coming back into society, yes. Exactly right. And what's a common thing that's associated with returning vets? You got it. Post-traumatic stress disorder. For example, somebody may look completely together on the outside and all of a sudden they hear a loud noise and they may react very strongly to that. Somebody who's gone through war, for example, has suffered a lot of that stuff. Very interestingly, and I say interesting not to trivialize what these men and women have gone through, one of the telltale signs of having been in a war zone is damage to the enamel of teeth. If you're next to an explosion, very often the enamel on your teeth will shatter. So oftentimes vets will have problems with their teeth because coming back from those areas. Here's one of the other interesting things too. One of the big areas where we see medical advancements after warfare is artificial limbs. In the recent conflicts, because we've got better body armor and more people are surviving those kinds of conflicts, we're seeing advances now in very, I hate to say it like this, we're seeing a renaissance in how we're treating artificial limbs because so many people need them. And women in particular are finally getting their due. Most prosthetics, most artificial limbs don't work well with females because most of the work has been done based on wartime, and this is the first series of conflicts where we've had a significant female presence in combat zones. So our Americans with disabilities who we're talking about might be people who served their country and really came back with some struggles to overcome. So I'm glad we're taking care of those folks. When we start talking about Americans with disabilities, if you want to know why all new buildings have to have elevators, why all new buildings have to have curbs that are wheelchair accessible. For example, somebody who maybe can't use their legs can still be a great receptionist. Somebody who cannot see can still work on a computer. I knew a guy, check this out. I know a guy who was a blind computer programmer. It was the craziest thing I ever saw. He had a screen reader that would read the code to him. Does anybody know somebody who's blind and uses a computer, by the way? Have you ever seen somebody? It's amazing because it's like a superhero, okay? When you lose one sense, your other senses become heightened. And when you listen to a blind person using a computer, the rate at which the computer reads things to them, you would never understand it. They're able to understand things at a much higher rate because they've come to rely on their hearing. And I watched this guy work on code based on hearing what was on the screen. By the way, guys, why is it so difficult in the 21st century? Why is it so difficult for blind individuals to integrate with the way our society is going? Yes?
Because like everything's on technology, so it's kind of be hard for them to get used to using social media and stuff like that.
Or even a touch-screen phone for that matter. Could you imagine trying to order an MTO at Sheetz if you had no way? Now, there are people who will come out and help you, but nobody wants that. We want to be independent. And this is also one of the areas where technology can help us. This is one for me, for people my age. I'm now protected by the Age Discrimination and Employment Act. Yay me, middle age. And what it means is you can't just hire somebody for being an old fart. You can fire somebody, for example, if they're not able to do the job. You can fire somebody if they are not a good candidate, but you can't hire somebody just because they look weird and smell funny. So that's the idea behind the Age Discrimination and Employment Act. Now, guys, why is this act, the Age Discrimination and Employment Act, why is it such a big deal right now in our period in history? Why is it such a big deal? Overall, when we think about the population of the United States, why is it such a big deal? Yes? We have one of the most rapidly aging populations in the world. And people are staying in the workforce for a lot longer. Like, for example, people, the generation before me, the golden age of retirement was 60 to 65. My age group, we're hoping to retire by the time we're 70. Why do I have to work longer? Anybody have any idea why I might have to work longer? What might not be there for me? Yes? Yeah, I'm not counting on Social Security. In addition, and I'm hoping this is the way it works out, the average person, by the way, if you had to say everybody who's in your age group, past retirement age, how long are you going to live? Any guesses? Let's say you retire at 65. If you hit the jackpot and you retire at 65, how long are you going to likely live? Yes? At least 15 to 20 years. You got to have money in the bank. And here's the other thing too, guys. In the big financial recession of 2008, if you're this late and you lost half your work in a matter of a year, if all of a sudden you have half of what you had before, you can't retire when you thought you were going to retire. You got to stay in the workplace. So we got 5 generations right now in the workplace. We got traditionals, we got baby boomers, we got Generation X. And Gen X, I have the coolest name of any generation because we sound like superheroes. Guys, what are the challenge? Chris, what's the challenge of having 5 different generations in the workplace at the same time? And we communicate differently too, don't we? Yeah, so we're talking about, for example, by show of hands here, if you had to send a message out to a bunch of your friends, would you make a stack of phone calls? That's the first hand. Or would you send a text message? Raise your hand if you send a text message. Hell yeah. Even people my age are getting conversant with that stuff. Somebody who's a baby boomer, probably not. If you got a traditional, somebody your grandparents' age, for example, they're probably going to send you a letter. Anybody here ever get a birthday card in the mail from their grandparents? It's the best thing ever, isn't it? Yeah, but people my age don't do that anymore for our up-and-coming grandkids. We communicate differently, we train differently, we do all these things differently. So in terms of all this stuff, if you work in HR, you got to know the law, man. You got to know how to not discriminate. You got to be able to know what's going on and what's changing. For example, a changing landscape. We have more single females in the workplace. We have more people of color in the workplace. We want to promote diversity. If you're working in an HR department, you have got to be part of the solution. Well, let's say we are the anti-Toby. Because we talked about Toby from The Office. How many of you are fans of The Office, by the way? Show of hands. That just means you have good taste in television. Sorry, it's going to be leaving Netflix soon. That's a bit of a bummer. Well, somebody, actually, let's get a couple of words. You don't have to raise your hand. Just shout them out. Give me some descriptions of Toby. You guys know Toby. Tell me about it. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd say underappreciated.
He's underappreciated. Is there another adjective you would use for Toby? How would you describe it? Yes. He is he's bordering on comatose. I mean, this guy has this kind of way of talking like, Michael, you really shouldn't be doing this. We got to make sure we stay in compliance. And that's the stereotype. In reality, HR people and well-run companies are the lifeblood of those companies. Guys, we need to know, for example, HR, human resources. Let's think about what those two words mean. Human is obvious. We walk on two legs. We don't have tails. We can use utensils because we've got opposable thumbs, although some cats also have opposable thumbs, which makes me wonder, someday, will the cats take over? What would a world look like if cats were running the world? Could you imagine that? Like, dogs have owners. Cats have staff. If cats took over the world, I don't think we'd last very long. They'd have us eliminated, man. They wouldn't be bringing dead things to our doorstep. We'd be the dead things on the doorstep. So let's all give thanks for this holiday season. The cats have not yet taken over the world, even though some of them have opposable thumbs. That's your ponderance for today. My point is, human beings are resources, and you can't get something done in a company without them. So we're going to talk about what that means, but we're also going to get into what we refer to as a job analysis. You're getting a distillation of everything I teach in the 201 class in a couple of slides. We're going to talk about how we predict what kind of people we need and how we make a plan. Guys, a job analysis simply means that somebody wants to see how you're doing your job. It's not the same thing as a performance evaluation. If Dr. Fry came in here today and wanted to see how well I was teaching the class, he's giving me a performance evaluation. A job analysis is making sure that we have the right tools available to people doing the job and that we're hiring the right people for the job. Guys, I really want to hear your singing voices today, so we're going to go one row at a time. If you had to think about, for example, what would make a good college teacher, somebody who would make somebody a good teacher in the classroom, row one, tell me one thing that would make a good college teacher. What's an attribute a college prof should have? Should be energetic. Over here, what's an attribute that a college prof should have? I'm sorry? So energy, that's good though. That's good. Row two, what's an attribute a college prof should have? I'm sorry? Should be practical. Okay, row two over here. What is an attribute that a college professor should have? Patience? Yeah, very good. What's an attribute a college prof should have? Row three. So we have energetic, we have patience. What else should we have? Enthusiasm for sure. What do we got over here? What should a college prof, what should be an attribute? I hope so. Entertaining is good. What's an attribute a college professor should have? Understanding. What do we got over here? Engaging. One word. Sorry, Felix, you're all by yourself.
Some type of humor.
Humor. And the one thing none of you said I would also include on the list is expertise as well. So, for example, if we do a job analysis, if we're looking at what skills it takes to do the job, those things, what it would take for somebody to be successful in the job, are part of the job analysis. That creates a job description. A job description in writing tells us what the job is all about, what the responsibilities are, and job specifications are the specific skills you would need. Here's the difference between a job, guys, eyes up front, please. The difference between a job description and job specifications. A job description gives you a general description of what you need to do the job. Job specifications are what tells you what specific skills you need. So a job description for a college prof might say, for example, that this person needs to supervise a class of 36 people, needs to grade papers, needs to have the ability to run and manage students for periods of 50 minutes to an hour and 50 minutes. Job specification might mean a bachelor's degree in a related field. It might mean that this person, for example, has published these articles. It might mean that this person has the following skills. Guys, how many of you have ever eaten at a Subway restaurant? Well, somebody, you tell me, what's it like to order a sandwich at Subway? How does it work? Yeah, we just point at you.
I don't know, you just walk in, they ask you what bread you want, tell them the bread.
Come on up here. We're going to do this together once because this is important. This is how a job analysis works. So let's say, for example, right now, I'm your Subway sandwich artist. You just come in. The line starts here, sir. Hi, welcome to Subway. What would you like today? What kind of bread would you like?
Italian.
All right. You want a 6-inch or a foot long? Foot long. Oh, way to go. So we got your Italian bread. What kind of sandwich are we having today?
Italian BMT.
All right, BMT. You want to make that double mean, huh?
Yeah.
All right, I'll hit you up, buddy. All right. What kind of condiments would you like on there?
Let me get some lettuce,
Okay.
tomato, some Italian dressing.
Is that enough?
Yeah.
All right. All right. You want some chips with that?
Let me get chocolate chip cookie.
Chocolate chip? Just one? You look hungry.
Yeah.
All right. We're wrapping this up. Put it out there, and he's on his way. Enjoy that sub. You got a good deal on that sub today. How is that different than making a sandwich in your own house? It's a lot smarter, and it's quicker, and it's more efficient. That is a result of a job analysis. Somebody walked into a sandwich shop and said, what's the most efficient way possible we can make a sandwich? And that's why Subway is set up the way it is. And I hope that's a good sandwich. I hooked you up, didn't charge you for double meat. So that's the reason why we do job analysis in the first place. Well, we've got this job analysis. We've designed the job. We've got the job description. We've got the job specifications. Now we got to recruit people. Guys, it's a tough old world out there for recruiters right now. Why is it so tough in the United States to recruit people in 2019 and beyond? What's so hard for employers at this point? Yes? Yeah, we got high employment. We got low unemployment. This side of the room, what's our national unemployment rate right now? It's less than 4%, guys. Whose market is it? Is it an employees or an employer's market? It's an employees market out there these days. So recruiters are people who have to go out and get people to come to companies, and it's a tough job. So if you're a big company or a small company, people have reasons why they want to work for either. By show of hands here, for your first job out of college, how many of you want to work for a large company? Undecided. How many of you hope to work for a small company? Why did you pick small, too? I like small companies, too.
Honestly, I have no idea, but that one lady that came in said that it's better to start off in small businesses and learn more about it and then go to a bigger company.
Is that Michelle?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with her. In a small company, guys, you might be doing everything. You might be doing everything from doing sales to doing marketing to doing accounting to helping somebody literally move boxes. You know the company inside and out. You learn a lot of skills that way. It's different to recruit for large and small companies. Generally speaking, larger companies allow for more specialization, which means if I'm recruiting for Google, the same person who I recruit at Google to write code is not going to be moving boxes at the warehouse. The person I recruit for my little family business here might. Who's probably going to get the bigger paycheck? The person working for the small company or the big company? Big companies generally are more well-funded. And it's tough. And online recruiting is a big part of it these days too, guys. You're going to be putting resumes together. You're going to be using your LinkedIn pages. And you're going to be using sites like Indeed and Glassdoor and Monster. Has anybody, I won't ask you about it, I'm just curious, has anybody here ever heard of the company or the website Glassdoor.com? It's an awesome website. Have you ever checked it out?
Yeah, like before I go to job interviews, I look at it and it tells me like all the questions that I ask me most likely.
You're already an expert on how to be recruited. Tell me why Glassdoor is so awesome. Yeah, you can go on to Glassdoor.com. In fact, if you got a device or a laptop, I'm giving you permission to open up and check this thing out. If you go to Glassdoor.com and you list any company that you can think of, you'll see reviews from people who work there who will tell you what the company is really all about, what it's like working there, what kind of pay you can expect, what the environment is like. Guys, in terms of recruiting, though, we have all kinds of options. We can recruit people externally, whether we're going to union halls or we're advertising online or in the paper. For example, if we want to recruit somebody who's over the age of 50, the newspaper is still a good way to go. Why is that? Trevor, why is it still good to recruit people over 50 in the paper? Because old people still read newspapers, man. They're the only people who still do. Like, how many of you, if you go to your grandparents' place, still see a newspaper once in a while? Yeah. How many of you guys read physical paper newspapers? Not one person. It's a thing of the past. I would not want to be working in print right now. But all these are places where we can find people. We also can find people internally. Bless you. Bless you. We can recruit people within our own companies. Here's a question for you guys. Let's say we have an open position. Let's say we are St. Francis University. We have an open position for somebody to teach HR in our School of Business. We have several people who are internal candidates, people who have worked in other departments, who do a good job, have taught for us as adjuncts, and they're people we know. Or we can recruit somebody from outside the university, maybe who's currently working in HR. What would be an advantage of recruiting somebody internally instead of advertising externally? What might be an advantage? What do you think? Julia, what do you think?
Well, you probably wouldn't have to go through things like background checks or like testing out with other employees because they'll already have relationships in the business.
Yeah, they're already part of your culture, right? Yeah, so we got an advantage. What might be a disadvantage, Sharon, of recruiting somebody inside your own company? Because we know an advantage would be they already know the company, they're part of our culture. What could be a disadvantage? Is that person really going to shake things up? Probably not. So if you recruit externally, you have a better chance of getting new ideas. You have a better chance at bringing in somebody who's going to shake things up, bring change, bring innovation. Here's the disadvantage of bringing somebody from outside. They're also somebody you don't know. You don't know how long you're going to be able to keep them. Here's the trick, guys. Do you have any idea? In the average American company, from the time you hire somebody to the time they are actually reaching full productivity in your company, how long does it take the average employee? Any guesses? Or show of hands, how many of you think a month? How many of you think 2 months? How about 3 months? Guys, how many of you think maybe even 6 months? Because it is. It's about 6 months. Think about this, guys. Are there things that you know today about how to get something done at St. Francis University that you didn't when you walked in the door in August? Whether it's knowing how our really inconvenient online system works, whether it's knowing what or not. Yeah, seriously, the online system, all I want is a back button. All I want, like, if I could have anything I wanted for Christmas this year other than world peace and a stable income for the rest of my life from my wife's dog video, which I'll send you guys the link. Please click on it repeatedly. The only thing I want is a back button. So when I go to my Francis and I'm doing advising, I'm like, oh, I'm almost done. I've got this student schedule worked out. On every other website, I can hit the back button, and I make the mistake of hitting the back button, and I undid everything. How many of you had that happen on my Francis? It's not a pain in the ass. It's so simple. It shouldn't be this hard. But I digress. All of these sources come into our HR department. So they're sorting resumes. They're sorting all this stuff. The HR department then, in conjunction with whatever department this person's going to work with, helps pick the people who should be interviewed. Out of that selection process, we hire somebody and then we orient and trade them. We call it onboarding. How many of you this year when you came in as freshmen went to the Playfair event? We do that every year, guys. Some people love it, some people hate it, but it's onboarding. It's getting you into our culture. If you want to know why as freshmen, even if you weren't here for competition, why we make you come in Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's to indoctrinate you to our culture before you get bombarded with upperclassmen. Although those of you who were here for camps knew the lay of the land before anybody else. Whenever we think about who we want to evaluate, we're looking at resumes and we're deciding who we're going to interview and actually pulling in people to interview. That's the selection process. By the way, guys, let's say you submit a resume and it makes it into an evaluation process and somebody's actually reviewing your resume. You got through the software, you made it in. Anybody know how long the average recruiter takes scanning your resume before they decide if you've made it for consideration? How much time does the average recruiter spend looking at your resume before they decide if they're going to look at you for it? What do you think? Yes? Anybody? Yes? A minute. That's very generous. Nowhere near a minute. Anybody else have a guess? Gabby, what do you think? How long does the average recruiter look at a resume? That's exactly right. 2 to 5 seconds. So if you can't catch their interest in 2 to 5 seconds, you might be moving on to the next person. So, in terms of this process, before I move on, though, I've been moving very fast here today. I would love to get a question or comment about just about anything today. I'm happy to be here with you guys today because, like, we're winding the semester down, but this is other than the ethics chapter, this is my favorite chapter in the book. So, what would you like to ask? Yes, sir.
Where do we find the reviews?
I'm sorry?
Where do we find the reviews for these?
I emailed it out to you guys last week. If anybody doesn't have it, email me and I'll email you another copy, or maybe I'll just resend it to everybody. How many of you have the review? Okay. Just if you don't find it in your email, email me. Other question? Any question? Yes.
What's the name of the contact you gave me for the SB, the Small Business Development Center?
Jeff Boldazar.
Spell that last name.
If you go to My Francis and log in, go to the directory, and go to the Small Business Development Center, you'll find him as acting director.
Thank
Yep.
you.
You're welcome. Anything else I can answer for you today? I'm just excited for Thanksgiving, by the way. Yeah, me too. Like, I won't do this with everybody, but just a quick poll question. Like, what food are you most looking forward to at Thanksgiving? Yes. Mac and cheese. Nice. Like mom's? Yeah. What is it about mom's mac and cheese? It's just awesome. Like, why is your mom's mac and cheese so good? You know what? There's a secret ingredient in mom's mac and cheese. You know what that is? It's love. Who else has some kind of food they're looking forward to over the holidays? What are you looking forward to? Yeah, like made with lots of cream, lots of butter. Yeah, do you do them with the skins in or not?
No, it's skins.
I love smashed potatoes with the red skins, but whatever it is, I'm good with mashed potatoes. Yes. Ham. Is that what you guys do for Thanksgiving? Wow, it's a winning combination right there. I'm with you. Sadie, what are you looking forward to?
Anybody say stuffing yet?
Not yet. All right. Well, how's your family do stuffing?
I don't know. My grandma cooks it, but it's good.
It's some of the best stuffing I've ever had. A friend of mine here on campus who's an amazing cook makes this special stuffing once a year. He puts apples and sausage in it. And you would think that would be terrible until you taste it. It's unbelievable. Like, if you just gave me a plate of that and said that's your Thanksgiving dinner, I'd be like, hot damn, I'm in. It's that good. It's that good. But think about that. When you have a bad time in the next week, just remember Thanksgiving is coming. We're entering the most wonderful time of the year, and I'm happy to be here with you guys. All right, guys, let's get back in. In terms of steps in the selection process, I'm not going to read this to you other than to say you might have to fill out an application. You're definitely going to be using your resume at some point, and somebody at HR is going to be looking at it to decide if you're the right person to fit the job description. We might do interviews. For example, your first interview might be over video or over the phone to determine if we want to waste your time coming in for a real interview or not. I shouldn't say waste your time, use your time. Employment tests. Here's something that a lot of people don't realize. Can an employer ask you to take a drug screen as part of a job application? Technically, they cannot. Check it out. It's a very fine line, because I would have answered the question the same way. It's a reasonable assumption to say they would. An employer is breaking the law if they ask you to take a P-test before they give you a conditional offer of employment. Technically speaking, employers break the law all the time by saying, basically, we won't hire you if you don't pass the drug screen. You have to give somebody a conditional offer of employment, meaning you pass the drug screen and you have the job. It's a last step. Here's the other thing, too, guys. I know we talked about Americans with Disabilities Acts, for example. Are there certain jobs where you can be required to have certain height and weight requirements? What would be an example of one? Yes?
Like an airline attendant.
Definitely. And that's literally to be able to physically make it through the aisles and make sure you're staying within the weight of the airplane. Is there another one, too? Yes? Delivery guys. They got to be able to move, they got to be able to lift, and they got to be able to fit in those vehicles. The most obvious other one are military and police. Although here's an interesting story for you. Because we have some folks who are serving here as well. There's one branch of the service and one specific position where you are exempt from weight and physical fitness requirements. Does anybody know what it might be? In the armed services, there's one person who doesn't have to worry about their weight. Do you know who it is? Nope. If you are a Navy physician, you do not have to worry about weight. And here's the reason why. People would go into the United States Navy to get a free education. Med school is expensive, am I right? So if you can go in and get the government to pay for your training, why not? What some of these men and women would do, they would go into the Navy Medical Corps, they would get their doctor's certificate, and they're required to serve to make up for the investment that was put into them. Those folks would start eating like crazy to get as fat as they could, to get kicked out of the military so they could go into private practice and make more money. So there's a weight exemption in the United States Navy for doctors. You can be as heavy as you want. Yes?
Most of the time, though, you have to just pay the money back if
But if you think about it this way, if you go by government pay scale versus what you can make in private industry, you still make out on the deal, even paying it back because you're getting into practice more soon. You have longer earning time. So people did it.
Did they do it just to avoid the interest? Because you're basically just getting a loan from the government.
They were doing it basically so they could get out and start making more money more quickly. Even though they're paying it back, and you still got to pay back what you owe Uncle Sam. It's still financially worked out for them. And that's why there's a wage exemption. So you can't make this stuff up, folks. And you also can hire somebody for a probationary period as well. Now, we also have what we refer to as seasonal and contingent workers right now. These are people who don't work full-time. Contingent workers, for example, if you have people who follow the seasons in the United States who help harvest crops. Many of those individuals also happen to be illegal immigrants or migrants as well, but we do have folks who come into the country legally and do the same thing as well. And we have a lot of folks who are contingent workers. We also can consider contingent workers to be seasonal employees. Those terms are sometimes interchangeable. We're in the biggest season of the year right now for seasonal employees. Why is that, guys? What time of the year is it? It's harvest and it's Christmas time. So we got all kinds of people who are working. And some of these folks don't want full-time jobs. The biggest source of contingent workers this time of year is college kids who go home for the holidays and end up working in the local shopping mall, the local store, for example, to be able to help out with the holiday rush. It's a big time of year for that. And actually, one of the other big sources of that, too, are older individuals. In fact, if you had to guess, are the hiring rates higher for younger people, i.e. teenagers, or older people, i.e. retired people for fast food? It's retired people. And they have great customer service skills because most of them have already had careers, for example. And so we have more people who are working temporary jobs as well. So here's another thing, guys, I'll tell you. We're gonna hit a couple of other slides real hard and fast here, guys. Do you think, is it a reasonable assumption, for example, when you take your first job, is it a reasonable assumption to assume that you'll have to get some training whenever you get your first job? What do you think? Like, are you going to walk into your first job after college and knowing everything? Me, you. So it's a reasonable assumption to say we're going to have to get training. When you sit back here and when you're watching the prof up there and that person's saying all these things and sounding so intelligent, amazing, and good looking, and has a great haircut, and probably drives a really nice car, goes to the gym all the time, you're thinking that guy's got it really. You'd think that guy up there has it really together, wouldn't you, Trevor? Yeah, he's got life by the tail. In his first job, though, however, he had a lot to learn, and he was really lucky that his employer invested in him. Here's the trick, guys. No employer will assume in 2019 and 2020 that the person coming out of college is going to be employment ready. What they're going to assume is even though you have great skills, you know accounting, you know marketing, and you're great with technology, you're still going to need training. So when we do training, we're trying to teach people skills. If you're on a management path, however, we don't want to just train you. We want to develop you. Think about this. Training is the idea, can I teach somebody how to use this tool or this piece of software? Development. Think about it like this. Has anybody ever seen somebody work with clay, like making pots or making little, knickknacks? Has anybody seen that stuff? Did you take an art class? Yeah. We like to think of new employees as a piece of clay that can be molded and shaped and developed. So when we develop people, we're turning them into leaders. We're trying to grow them into bigger, better people. So that's the difference between training and development. And always know this, guys. Actually, I think this might be, we'll hit a couple more slides here, but I want to make this point. I think it's very important. When you read that job description, when you read a job posting, that is the equivalent of somebody's dating profile if they're an employer. They're saying, these are the ideal things I'm looking for in a mate. I'd like this person to be intelligent. I'd like them to be kind. I'd like them to enjoy long moonlit walks on the beach. I'd like them to be able to own their own brewery. I'd like them to be able to work so I don't have to. All these things would be great about a mate. Whenever you look at those things, when they're asking, we'd like this person to have project management experience. We'd like this person to have worked in industry. We'd like this person to have a certification in A++, for example, if they're in technology. We'd like them to have their accounting certification. All those things, generally speaking, are ideals. If you don't have everything that a job listing is asking for, do not let that stop you from applying for the job. What the employer is asking for is an ideal that generally does not exist. There are exceptions. Like, for example, if somebody says that you have to already have your CPA, that might not be negotiable. If they're asking for 4 years of experience and you've got 3 or 2, that might be negotiable. Because here's the deal, guys. The ideal mate does not exist. Neither does the ideal employee. Neither does the ideal company. So these are all things we work on together. That makes sense, guys? All right, let's continue. In terms of training and development, we look at a couple of aspects. If you're doing training and development, it means you're training people to make your company better, so we're filling the skill sets we don't have. We're also trying to if we don't have experience, if we don't have skill sets in-house, we're either going to train them or bring them in. And we also want to make sure, for example, the training makes sense. Did we get good training? If we train these individuals, did they make our company better? Did we spend money for a good reason? If you're sending people off to class, you want to make sure that you're getting your money out of it. Some of the things that we do for trainings, for example, orientation is a big one. We also call it onboarding. We did it with you guys when we brought you in as students. On-the-job training. That means you're going to be thrown in to sink or swim. Who here has heard, pardon me, who here has heard of that expression, sink or swim? What does it mean? Yes?
It means you either succeed or you fail, I guess.
Has anybody in this room experienced that actual event with a parent?
Not a parent with a job.
Oh, what happened?
First week of being hired, somebody called off and they were like, "Hey, can you work an overnight shift? We know you don't really know how, but somebody will be there to tell you what to do." So
Wow.
yeah, I worked all night.
What was the job?
Jeez.
Wow, and how'd that go for you?
Not bad. It was kind of like my whole training was kind of sink or swim though, because like it was so busy. They just kind of like threw you in there, like have fun.
I bet you made one hell of an impression on the manager by doing that. Yeah, absolutely. So, on-the-job training. Another story.
UPS basically operates like that. They hire so many people for quality that they will weed out the ones who can't do it. So they'll walk you back in the truck, they'll show you what the shifts are called, how to put the packages in, and then they'll leave you with 3 or 4 trucks you have to load because you do a shift all by yourself.
By yourself? Wow.
Yeah, you get about 5 minutes of instruction, then you got to do the job.
That's sink or swim for sure. Do you guys know where the term sink or swim comes from, though? What the actual, what it refers to? Has anybody ever had a parent before you knew how to swim just throw you in the water? That used to be a thing. That used to be how they would teach kids to swim. They would throw you in the water and you'd figure it out. It works for most people. I mean, the ones that don't drown, it works pretty well for. The ones that drown, not so much. But it's the same idea. Now, here's the thing. When you're doing on-the-job training, the person who's training you might resent you. Why is that? Why might the person who's training you resent you? Particularly if they are an hourly employee, yes. Well, you might be taking their job. I'm training the person who's going to replace me. Yes?
You're doing more work than usual.
Yeah, not only do I have to do my job now, I got this guy. This guy is going to have to be here learning what I've been learning how to do for 20 years. I don't want to waste my time with this guy. So that can be a challenge of on-the-job training. The flip side is you also learn personal skills and sometimes some hard knocks too. Obviously, we're doing online training these days. Vestibule training simply means we send you to a training center, or we could even do a job simulation. Guys, that's a good place for us to wrap it up today. Before we go, though, guys, on Friday, test, be here at 9 a.m. sharp. Make sure you have your browser and lockdown installed. Anybody who is taking the test outside of normal hours because of travel, please email me so I make sure that we have you on my calendar, okay? Have a good day, guys.